Okay. Are we actually streaming? Is it actually streaming? I don't know. It's tough to tell these days, isn't it? So yeah, I'm looking at my phone, and my phone still has a blank screen on it. There we go. There it goes. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and open up this guy here, the Wolfman, another of the Neca Universal monsters. I'd been opening up like a bunch of these this month because I've been in just a Halloweeny kind of mood. But yeah, we've opened up a lot of cool stuff this month. We opened up Creature from the Black Lagoon. We opened up couple of Phantom of the Opera figures, the glow in the dark one, and the Mask of Red Death. We opened up the glow in the dark Bride of Frankenstein. We opened up the glow in the dark Mummy. And now we got the Wolfman. I kind of figure after 2 episodes with the Phantom, played by Lon Chaney Sr., it'd be fun to go and open up Lon Chaney Jr. with the Wolfman. So, I've been excited about getting this figure for a while. You might remember, God, it must have been almost a year ago at this point. I'd opened up this guy here, the glow-in-the-dark version of the Wolfman, and all of these glow-in-the-dark figures are made to look a little more similar to how the Remco figures were that were made in the 1980s, the ones I grew up with, and that meant that he's not particularly screen accurate. I mean, for the most part, I feel like he's screen accurate, but the way they painted his face is not. They painted his face based on how, obviously, the Remco figure was painted back in the day. And, Remco took some liberties, some of which were for the sake of simplicity. Like, you notice they didn't paint in his nose, which I kind of feel like they should have painted in his nose. But also, since it was a glow-in-the-dark figure, they wanted to use that glow-in-the-dark figure, the glow-in-the-dark paint on his face, and that's why he looks a little greenish, which I don't believe the Wolfman was supposed to be green, but this one we can see he's painted in a more realistic way. And I gotta say, this is one of the few examples I've seen where I actually think that the paint on the figure, the factory paint on the figure, is better than what you see in the promotional artwork. Because I don't really like the way he's painted in that. He looks almost like he's got a mustache, and I don't care for that. The Wolfman shouldn't look like he has a mustache. But when I got the figure, it looked like this looks a lot better in person. I was kind of worried I might have to repaint him a little bit, but I don't think that's going to have to be the case. I think he's going to be just fine as he is, and he's got the extra Larry Talbot head in there. Looks just like Lon Chaney Jr. Creighton Chaney was his name at birth, and he wanted to keep that name, but the studio kind of strong-armed him into taking his father's name and being Lon Chaney Jr. This is Lon Chaney Sr. was such a huge star, like, and his legacy loomed large. Like this was 1940. I think by this point, and Chaney Sr. had been dead for like 10 years, but he was still a legendary enough figure that they still wanted Creighton to wind up taking his father's name, which he did. So there is a little blister underneath, and damned if his foot didn't fall out. Go ahead and pick that up. It was not in there very snugly. There's no rubber tab or anything holding this stuff in here. It's just got a little, I'm just going to pull the whole thing off. It's just going to tape to the other blister. You can see like it's got the kind of clamps molded into it like it was supposed to hold it in, but it did not hold that left foot in at all. The right foot seems like it's in there fairly well. But yeah, that's where they put the human feet, because, they want you to be able to turn the Wolfman into Lawrence Talbot, Larry Talbot, whatever you want to call him, and back again. And man, this figure stand is embedded in here, something serious. Now, not all of these come with figure stands, but the Wolfman does, because like I talked about with the glow in the dark figure, he's actually supposed to be placed on his tiptoes, so it looks a little bit more like the way a wolf's paw is put together. So like how wolves and dogs and everything, they basically walk on what for humans would be tiptoes. They don't walk flat-footed like humans do. So he's walking in kind of a lupine fashion, you might say. So, but he's got a ton of accessories, and I'm excited to talk about all of these. That's probably why I'm getting off to an early start with this one. Like, I've been doing most of the videos this week, like in the afternoon at some point, but I'm like, it's 6 o'clock in the morning. It's already Sunday. I can go ahead and talk about this. And yeah, I usually don't do videos on Sunday, but my schedule's been kind of weird lately, so I figured I might as well get it out of the way. And I'm probably going to be visiting my mom all day Monday, so I don't know if I'm going to get to do a video Monday or not. So we might as well go ahead and do one today, right? Get that out of the way. So he's got lots of extra hands for his human identity. We're going to go ahead and pull those out, and I'll look at those in just a second. And then he's got a bear trap, because, there's the scene in the movie where the Wolfman gets caught in a bear trap. So I'll go ahead and get that out of there. And let's see. If I press down on it, nothing happens. So it's not a functioning bear trap, I don't think. It is functional in that, like, I believe it's posable. Like, you can kind of close the trap, clamp it around his foot or whatever. We can go and like try it on one of these human feet. So yeah, you can have him trapped in the bear trap and everything, but it's not set up like it doesn't have a spring or anything on there. The trigger isn't actually functional, but it is posable, so you can have it where it's been tripped or not tripped, whichever you prefer. And let's see, then there's the extra Larry Talbot head. And Larry, they call him Larry in the first movie, and then in the sequel, Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, he's Lawrence Talbot. They get all fancy with us then. He's Lawrence Talbot, not just Larry Talbot anymore. Of course, when it was originally written, Larry was not going to be the son of Sir John, but they decided to make him the son by the time they started shooting. And frankly, I'm glad that they did, because I kind of feel like that the relationship between Sir John and his son, and them trying to rebuild that father-son relationship that they both kind of let lapse because of like their own family traditions and whatnot. I kind of feel like that's the emotional core of the movie, is that the relationship that you get between father and son there. And it's one of the reasons that I think that the remake, while I did enjoy the remake, it wasn't quite as good as it could have been, because it was missing that emotional core, which I feel like it is necessary to that story. But yeah, it is an excellent likeness of Creighton Chaney. I kind of feel like maybe that helped with Creighton's acting a little bit, because he did have like, kind of I think a little bit of a distant relationship with his father. And maybe he was kind of exercising some of those demons that were in their relationship. But look at the expression on his face. They really captured that sort of pained expression that Larry had when struck with guilt over being a marauding werewolf. Now, on my example, there does seem to be a little spot. I don't know if you can see that on the camera. A little spot where the brown paint at the hair is missing, like right underneath the cowlet. Can you see that? And it looks like it's a little bit of the Caucasian flesh there. So I might have to touch that up a little bit myself. I think I could just go over it with like some craft paint and don't even have to worry about it chipping there, because it's not anywhere where it would be easy to reach for something to scratch at it. And that's probably why the paint actually didn't get into that little cranny there. So anyway, Larry has 3 human hands, and they are very nicely painted. They've got like some red at the fingertips, like some kind of more pinkish sort of shading, like he's been kind of scratching at something. It's kind of interesting how they did that. So it's those two kind of open hands. Like these are hands where like he could be like looking at them. They could be like, even the red could be like you could think of it as being like staining of blood. Like he's wiped most of the blood away, but there's still some there if you want to. We'll go ahead and get a closer shot of those feet also. And you can see there's peg holes in the bottom. And they're not exactly the same foot. And I would have thought that they would be exactly the same foot, but just kind of mirrored, because that's how they tend to do things nowadays when they have everything as like a digital render. But if you look at it, you'll notice that the left foot has all the toes touching together, whereas the right foot actually has a little bit of space in between the big toe and the second toe. So it's kind of interesting that they did that. I don't know if that was just like something they did just so you know that it was a different sculpt or what. I'm not sure what the intention was with that, but he does have those bare feet. Anybody who's seen the original Wolfman knows why he has bare feet, and that's because the very first scene where we see of Larry turning into the Wolfman, he takes off his socks and shoes, and he's looking down at his bare feet. So you're almost seeing kind of from his perspective, not 100% from his perspective, because, but you're seeing what he's seeing. He's looking down at his feet, so you're also looking at his feet. And Larry turns into the Wolfman with from a foot point of view, like Quentin Tarantino directed it, maybe. And then the third hand that he has is his gripping hand, and that's good because that means he's got a way to hold that cane. And speaking of which, here it is, my favorite accessory that comes with this, the silver-headed werewolf cane that he buys at Gwen Conolive's shop when he's hitting on her. And it's like that dude was already a wolf before he got bitten by a werewolf. He was definitely hunting some prey at that time, if you know what I mean. But yeah, you can see it's got the pentagram sculpted into it with the wolf kind of leaping over it. The wolf's head, very cool, a lot of cool detail at the I don't know what you call that, the bottom of the base of the cane where it hits the ground. And going back again to his relationship with his father, when his father's going out to hunt the wolf with the rest of the men, and Larry has Sir John take the silver-headed cane with him because he's afraid he might try to kill his own father. He doesn't want his father to die, so he wants to make sure he's protected. He's got that silver cane, and indeed, Sir John does wind up killing the Wolfman with the silver-headed cane, killing his own son, and according to the sequel, dies of heartache afterwards. Can you blame the guy? It's they say it's a father's worst nightmare, a parent's worst nightmare to lose their child, and it's got to be even worse when it happens at your own hand. Even though I do kind of feel like that Sir John did grant his son some peace, at least until the sequel. So. But, whatever. You can't leave a good monster down. So what I'm going to do right now is, since I have the glow-in-the-dark figure over here, I'm going to go ahead and take apart the glow-in-the-dark figure, strip all of his werewolf parts off. And that way we can go ahead and put the werewolf parts onto the glow-in-the-dark body. And I do intend on buying a second glow-in-the-dark body so I can just leave the parts, have a body to put the parts on. And I haven't really decided yet. I was thinking I was going to put the werewolf parts onto the glow-in-the-dark body. But since I got everything loose right now, I might as well just put the Larry Talbot parts onto the glow-in-the-dark body. So I'm going to use the gripping hand because I want to be able to hold the cane. And this way, when I take the thumbnail, I can have both Larry Talbot and the Wolfman displayed. And I kind of want to show the Wolfman as the figure comes. You know, I don't want to give a false impression in my thumbnail, but I thought it would be cool to, you know, that way I could have both Larry and the Wolfman in the thumbnail. So that should be pretty cool, huh? So, and then this other hand, and there's only one gripping hand, so you can only hold the cane with one hand, and that's fine with me. But if you want to, I up the wrong hand on there. All right. I must have just grabbed the wrong one by accident. All right, so there he is with both of the hands. But you can kind of pose him so like it almost kind of looks like he's gripping it with two hands if you want to. So that's fine. And the last but not least, we got these feet. Now I do kind of wish that they'd put some feet with some shoes on there so he's not running around barefoot all the time. But, you know, again, I get why they went with the bare feet, and that does make sense to me, so I'm fine with it. But maybe give them, like, some boots or something is like a... You know, I probably shouldn't complain, because we already got, like, a whole extra set of feet out of this. And there we go. We got Lawrence Talbot all put together. That's what he looks like that. So, and again, this is using the glow-in-the-dark body. So the glow-in-the-dark body has, like, this all sort of, like, really dark olive drab suit, like his shirt and pants is all the same color because that's how they did it on the Remco figure. And, you know, honestly, the Wolfman's outfit, I see him in like lots of different colors of outfits on various types of merchandise. But I tend to think of him as having a green shirt and brown pants because that's how most versions tend to do it, including this one. The old Hasbro 12-inch Wolfman figure, he had that kind of it wasn't the exact same shade of green and the exact same shade of brown, but it was still basically he had like you know, green shirt, brown pants. And I think that when they shot it, the Wolfman was actually wearing a brown shirt, although I could be mistaken about that. But I seem to remember that I read that the Wolfman was wearing a brown shirt. But I've seen him with all different kinds. Like the Imperial figure had him with like a red shirt and orange pants. And the, you know, of course, NECA has their homage to that figure coming out, which I have pre-ordered. And, you know, a lot of the time, like the, I think the Super 7 figure that's coming out soon, the G.I. Joe type figure, the O-Ring, Reaction Plus, I think is what they call that. That one has a blue shirt. So, you know, you get different colors over the years. I want to say the Aurora model kit had him wearing a white shirt on the packaging. But the funny thing about that one is the Aurora model kit actually has a shirtless Wolfman. So he's got like an all furry torso. I kind of wonder if that design inspired the Marvel comic character Werewolf by Night, because it does look kind of like that same sort of outfit. And he had green pants, by the way, Werewolf by Night. And his hands are through the bubble. All right, so there we go. We got the Wolfman out of the package, and he looks really freaking cool. And it does have two different heads, which one of these is got, you know, kind of a scowly sort of head, and this is the same one I think that they repainted for the glow in the dark figure. So you can see the difference in what I'm talking about. This one is more sort of realistically painted and more painted how like to resemble as closely as possible. They wanted to look like the Wolfman in the movie. I kind of feel like they got his skin a little too light, but that's just me. And then this one obviously is colored again like the Remco figure. So he's got that grayish, greenish sort of skin, that glow in the dark color, very bright red lips with the blood dripping down it. Yeah, in the 80s, we could have action figures of monsters with the blood running down their chin. That's how they did Dracula and Wolfman back in my day. And, you know, they were able to get away with it with this one, I guess, because, you know, these are more sort of made for the adult collector. But, you know, I got to imagine if they did, like, actual Universal Monsters figures for the kiddies nowadays, they probably would not have the blood dribbling down their chin like that. So, yeah, Wolfman looks really cool. I'm really happy with how this turned out. Like, and he does have Again, green shirt, brown pants, kind of standard for the Wolfman nowadays. And it is the same sculpt. Again, this is the sculpt that they reused this sculpt for the glow in the dark version. But, they painted him a little more realistically in this version, obviously, because it's, the Ultimate Edition. And then the other head is a little more angry, a little more snarly. He's snarly enough here, but this is just like the extra snarly. So like whichever one you prefer as your Wolfman, you have the option to swap it out. I like having extra display options. So let's go ahead and put the angrier head on there right now. And like I said, at some point I'm going to get like an extra glow in the dark Wolfman, because I figure that's going to be the best way to display these extra parts. So because it's a little cheaper than buying the Ultimate Edition. Again, like I can get one of these on eBay for under $20, and these are probably going to run you a little closer to 35, 40. I managed to get this one out off a Big Bad Toy Store, and it was a little cheaper on there. I think they only wanted like 32, but yeah, he looks really cool, and I love him. So let's talk about the articulation a little bit. So the Wolfman can only look up about this far, and that's with me like bending the neck back and everything. I would like to have a little more neck articulation there, so you can like howl at the moon or whatever. But I mean, this is pretty good for like a standard action figure. I just wish with the Wolfman I had like a little bit more of that, so you could just really howl at the moon. Of course, the head rotates all the way around, both where the head meets the neck and where the neck meets the torso. Of course, you saw how this works. Like it goes all the way down into this collar. You see like you see how it works. And you can kind of tilt his head kind of quizzically from side to side. Fairly, like I said, fairly good articulation. I'm not trying to complain about the articulation, but I do wish they'd give it just that little bit more. Just that little bit more would have been great. So the arms, of course, rotate all the way around to the shoulders, and they raise up about that far at the sides. And then the Wolfman has a single joint of articulation at the elbow, and you can see it bends in about that far. So a little more than 90 degrees. That seems pretty standard for these NECA monsters. It is a really good range of motion there, especially for a single joint of articulation. And then, of course, that rotates all the way around, but it rotates around at kind of an angle. So, and then the wrists rotate all the way around, and they have a horizontal hinge, which moves back and forth like so. A lot of good paint detail on this. His claws are black and very glossy. Probably like a little more glossy than they even really need to be. That's fine. Maybe they're glossy because they, got fresh blood on them. Like he's just clawed some, poor hapless victim open or something like that. But yeah, such a tragic figure, Larry Talbot. Like, to me, kind of the real horror of the Wolfman isn't so much like being a victim of the Wolfman as much as like becoming the Wolfman yourself. Like the real victim in that movie is Larry Talbot. Make no mistake. And I feel bad for the people obviously that get eviscerated by a werewolf. How could you not? But imagine like carrying that guilt around with you. Imagine the fear of turning into a monster, having no control over it. Imagine the fear of targeting the people that you love when you do that. People like Gwen Conliffe or his father or anybody like that. That's the tragedy of the character. That's the tragedy of the Wolfman. That's what makes the Wolfman such a great character. And Lon Chaney Jr. Played him so well. It's like definitely, I think, like my favorite performance of Creighton Chaney. I think he was fantastic in the role. And of course, that was the monster that he originated, and he considered the Wolfman to be his baby. He played Frankenstein, and I thought he did pretty good as Frankenstein's monster. I thought he did fine with the material he was given, but I do kind of feel like he was miscast, like just physically, because even though he was a big guy, he was like a beefy sort of guy. And I think the Frankenstein monster makeup works best when it's like a gaunt sort of face. Like I couldn't be Frankenstein's monster. I'm all jowly, and even if I shaved off the beard, like it just wouldn't look right. But like Creighton was the same way. He had a fuller face than Karloff, and like I kind of Bela Lugosi also had kind of a fuller face than Karloff, and I think like Karloff was really the face that it looked best on of those three actors. Glenn Strange also had that sort of like gaunt, high cheekbone, craggy sort of face, maybe even more than Karloff, even craggier than his. So I think it works great on Glenn Strange also. And Fred Gwynne also, when he played Herman Munster. And granted, that was more of a comedic version of it. That one, I kind of feel like he had a good face for the Frankenstein makeup. Anyway, getting off on a tangent. Also, if you look at his feet, he's got the same sort of glossy black claws down there. And of course, I've had the glow in the dark version for so long, and I'm kind of used to that. And they just kind of did the Remco thing where it's just a solid brown, but this is like different shades of brown. It's got like a wash or a dry brush or whatever it is, and it really brings out a lot of the furry sort of details, which I like. The one thing that I have a problem with this paint job is I do wish that the shirt was like just a little bit more matte. It does seem to have like a little bit of a glossiness to it that I think could have been a little more flat, and I think that would have looked better. But that's just nitpicking. Anyway, let's get back to talking about the articulation. So I was talking about that. So Wolfman rotates all the way around the waist and can bend back about that far at the waist, bend forward about that far at the waist, kind of bend from side to side a little bit, but not as much as you might think. It does seem like it's a little stiff there. I think they probably could have added a little bit more articulation to that, but it's fine. It's okay. It's just not great. It's just kind of okay. And then the Wolfman can kick up about that far. He's got a single joint of articulation at the knee, and then that rotates all the way around. And of course, due to the nature of the design of this figure, since he's got removable feet, that means he's also got a boot cut, so that it rotates all the way around at the mid shin point there. Wolfman's feet can point down about that far. They can point up about that far and then rotate all the way around where the foot meets the ankle, where the foot meets, yeah. So there we go. That's the articulation for that guy in a nutshell. So the cane's a really cool accessory. Obviously, it works best when it's with the human figure, and even if you could, if you wanted to give it to the werewolf, he wouldn't really be able to hold it because he's only got the open werewolf hands. But what are you gonna want the Wolfman to do except for like claw at people with his wolf paws? I mean, that's just how a Wolfman do. You know what I mean? So it's like, what else are you gonna do with that? But yeah, you could also like I suppose give it to Dracula. You know, if you remember the Monster Squad, which is a movie that I really enjoy, Dracula was the one who had the silver-headed cane in that, and he had it modded so he could use it as like a little portable Frankenstein monster recharger, where the ears of the wolf actually pulled out of the cane, and he clipped them onto I think they were on the forehead on that one because it wasn't exactly the universal design, but he clipped them to the electrodes on the creature and used the whole thing like a lightning rod. You know, it's kind of funny how like by the 1980s, all that Kenneth Strickfaden equipment could be condensed down into a cane. But you know that that's how technology works. It just keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller. You know, the cell phone that I carry around with me in the 1950s, this would have been like a whole room full of computers. And even then, it might not have been quite as much. But yeah, I'm definitely going to have to get an extra glow-in-the-dark Wolfman so I can just go ahead and keep all the parts on one of those. Because I definitely want to have a glow-in-the-dark Wolfman to still keep intact. I don't want to necessarily like sacrifice my only glow-in-the-dark Wolfman. I need to have another one. So yeah, the Wolfman looks great. I'm not sure which of these heads I like better, but I think I'm gonna wind up leaving this head, like the more angrier head on him, just because it is a different sculpt from the one that came on the glow in the dark figure. If it was the other way around, I'd probably have it the other way around. But that way I can have both Wolfman sculpts on display. And I believe that they also use this same head sculpt on the Imperial figure when that comes out. So like yeah, since this is a head that is unique to the Ultimate Edition, as far as I know. I don't think that they've used it on any other figure. So yeah, it makes sense that that I would display that one. I think that's going to be the one that works out best. I'm trying to get this figure stand on him, but it doesn't seem like it wants to go on all the way. And it's such a tiny little figure stand; it just kind of works on one foot. So and it doesn't seem, like I said, it doesn't seem like it wants to go in all the way. But I think that's going to be the pose I'm going to go with for the thumbnail, which I'm going to go take the thumbnail in just a little bit. But I think that's pretty much it for the Wolfman. I really like this figure. I'm really glad that I was finally able to pick him up. I'd meant to get this figure for a while, so I got caught up on my Ultimate Monsters, the main ones I wanted to get anyway. I'm sure there's a few other ones that I'll get. Like I would like to get the more basic, more standard Phantom of the Opera. The Red Death one is awesome, and I love it. But I do still kind of want to have the more definitive version, as it were. The outfit that he wears for most of the movie. I'm trying to think what other ones there are. Because I know I got the 2-pack with Bride of Frankenstein and the Monster on the way. And they got the Hammer monsters, and I definitely want to get those. But out of the universe, like the Universal monsters proper, I still need to get the Invisible Man. And there's 2 different figures of the Invisible Man. So I think I want to get the one in the bathrobe first. The one in the pajamas, because that's the main image that I think of for him. But you still want to have the one that's at the end terrorizing people, the one with the wig and the fake nose and everything. Here's a souvenir for you. I do love that scene. But yeah, next episode I'm going to be opening up this guy, which I've been sitting on for a while, the Mummy, the Ultimate Ardath Bey action figure. And of course, we opened the Mummy recently, the glow-in-the-dark version of the Mummy. But this is, again, speaking of how the character looks through most of the movie, this is actually how Boris looked through most of the movie. He's only a mummy for like a few minutes at the beginning, and then he winds up unwrapping and passing himself off as being a normal human. But we know that he's still a mummy. So he's all leathery and probably weighs like 20 pounds or something like that, because he doesn't have any moisture inside of him. So we'll have the Mummy to open up next. And then after that, I'm going to open up Frankenstein. And then sometime, I think I'll have some other things to open up in between. But coming up soon, I'll have the Marty McFly figure to open up. I'm going to open up that on October 21st. And I've got lots of other cool monster stuff to come. I've still got the Mego Nosferatu figure and some other surprises. And I got the Batgirl figure, this new Batgirl figure that I really want to open up. And like I said, I kind of figure like Batman characters are kind of Halloween enough. They're probably like the most Halloween superheroes, like as far as I'm concerned, at least outside of like actual supernatural superheroes like the Spectre or Deadman or something. And hey, I do have that Superpowers Deadman figure. I can always open up that too. So we got a lot of cool Halloween stuff, a lot of cool monster stuff coming up for the Halloween season. And I sure do love Halloween, so I'm gonna collect all the parts and put them in this little tray, and then put it back in the box. I'm going to put all the glow-in-the-dark parts in here for now. For now, I'm going to leave the Lawrence Talbot stuff on the glow-in-the-dark figure, and I am planning on getting an extra glow-in-the-dark figure sometime in the near future. Like I said, I can get one of those for like $20, so that's pretty cheap. And I don't think we looked too much at the packaging. So let's go ahead and look at the packaging real quick before I before I sign off, because I think I just kind of glossed over that a little bit. But yeah, here's the artwork on the back. Typical sort of montage like they have on the back of these monsters. This I really like. It reminds me of one of my favorite stills that was taken for I think it was Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, actually. Yeah. Even with the weird mustache that he has on here, he still looks really cool, doesn't he? But yeah, that's it for the Wolfman. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And that'll complete our look at the father and son Lon Chaney's. So I got a big old stack of Universal Monster boxes over there. And like I said, I'm not done yet, because next episode is going to be The Mummy, and then we'll have Frankenstein after that. And let's have a look at that Frankenstein real quick. Oh, I love that poster. And you can see why everybody thought Frankenstein was green, because they made him green on this poster. And he looks a little greenish on the figure too. But we'll talk more about the paint details and everything on that later. He's got a lot of cool accessories. He's got little flowers in there, like when he meets the little girl at the lake. And oh, we all know how that went, don't we? Yeah, that's not a happy scene. But and he's got lots of extra. He's got the extra heads. Kind of one's kind of neutral, one's kind of a little bit snarly, and one's way snarly. So I'm looking forward to opening up Frankenstein. Again, I have the glow in the dark Frankenstein, and I love it, but it's going to be cool to have the more realistic version and to have him on display with the Ultimate Wolfman and the Ultimate Dracula. Oh, I love that figure. He's so awesome. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the Wolfman. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please make sure that you like and subscribe and all the fun YouTube stuff down below. Leave a comment. I like it when you leave comments. YouTube likes it when you like and subscribe. They also like it when you leave comments, but I think I like it slightly more than they do. Let me know what you think in the comments about this figure and the character of the Wolfman in general, and what's your favorite werewolf movie? What's your favorite movie with the Wolfman in it specifically? This character, Lawrence Talbot. What do you think of? What's your favorite movie of this character? You've got like all the classic ones. You got the Wolfman, Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, House of Frankenstein, House of Dracula, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. I think that's all the classic ones. And then you got the remake with Benicio del Toro. I thought that one was pretty good. Then there was that more recent, like in name only remake. That one, no, I just wasn't interested in that at all. Sorry, if it's not Larry Talbot, it's not the Wolfman. That's a specific character. It's like you can't just make any old movie about a vampire and call it Dracula. Dracula is a specific character. Well, the Wolfman, it's the same thing. Only Larry Talbot is the Wolfman. And, even if it's played by a different actor like Benicio del Toro. I know in the Monster Squad, they call that character the Wolfman, but they never give a name to his human form in that movie. So I've decided that in the Monster Squad, that is Lawrence Talbot. They just couldn't call him Lawrence Talbot because of the copyright reasons. And I tend to go back and forth between calling him Lawrence Talbot or Larry Talbot. Either way, it's the same thing. Larry is short for Lawrence, obviously. So it's all good as far as I'm concerned. I know I was joking about how they were getting all serious by calling him Lawrence Talbot earlier, but I'm still fine with it. But anyway, that's it for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. We will talk to you next time. Bye.